Welcome to the Oddity Shop, where the bizarre is always on sale.
Hey, you little oddballs. Welcome back. This is the Oddity Shop. Thanks for listening. I'm Kara. This is Zach. And I have a question for you.
Ooh, I hopefully have an answer.
You do because you had time to think about it.
Uh-oh.
What cryptid would you want to be?
Mothman, hands down.
Do you know what's really funny is like a year and a half ago, you were still deathly afraid of him, or you wouldn't even look at a picture of him or talk to him. And now he's like the love of your life.
Okay, I've gotten to know him over the past
I know
year
you've
and a half,
embraced
and
it.
He terrified me as a kid, and this is why I want to be him, though, right? I want to know if he is actually if he's the thing that brings about the bad things that happen, or if he's just the warning.
And the warning.
The more I look into things, I think he's a warning. Which actually perfectly ties into the story I have for you today. It's not the story of the Mothman, but it is another cryptid who has similar ties. So good question, honestly.
Thanks.
Also, for anybody listening, it is Thanksgiving for you. It's not Thanksgiving for us yet, but it's Thanksgiving for you. So
Happy Turkey Day. Hopefully it's not stressful.
Hopefully not. I don't know what you guys are thankful for. Let us know, but we are thankful for anyone who's actually hearing this right now. Appreciate you listening.
Sure are.
But with that, no, I'll get into it. So we have, and it's kind of perfect for Thanksgiving, actually. It is a cryptid story, but it also takes place during American history, like probably past the well past the Pilgrim times, but still actually in like the early settlement of America, right?
You made it sound like American history was a time frame.
It is. It's over. It's well in the past. But no, I have the story for you today of Detroit, Michigan's very own cryptid.
What?
Right, where we're from. So let's get into it. So have you ever heard of the Nain Rouge?
Yes and no. I know that we have a festival in Detroit and everyone makes a big, huge deal about it and dresses up and like it's a huge thing, but I've never gone and I don't really know anything other than that.
Sweet. Well, stick around for 20 more minutes and you'll know exactly what they do. So the Nain Rouge is also called the Red Dwarf or the Demon of the Strait.
The demon of what?
The Strait. Like, a river of water, like a strait.
Okay, wait. So I can either be called a dwarf, a red dwarf, the devil of the strait. What was the other one?
The Nain Rouge means red dwarf. It's French. But it's also been called the Demon of the Strait, which is, they're referring to the Detroit River.
I would want to be called that.
Fair. It was French people who founded Detroit, so it kind of makes sense they gave it a French name.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, so now Detroit every year has to run the demon out of town in order to keep the city safe from him. Maybe. We'll get into that a bit more later. Let's go with some history. Let's go with some background. Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. He's a French explorer and adventurer. I know his name is an absolute mouthful. He is born in 1658, and he becomes involved in the military very young at age 17. By the way, he's born in France. And at 25, he sets out for the New World, which is America. Okay, so he gets to America, and then through his family, basically, his family's politicians and merchants, right? He already has quite a bit of wealth. So he would kind of travel around the area called New France, which is part of Canada. It's part of kind of like the upper Midwest to East Coast states. So he's setting up these trade routes. He's accumulating more wealth, and he wants to start creating forts. So he becomes the commander of a fort in St. Ignace, Michigan.
Like army forts?
Yeah. Yep. So a lot of
okay.
Your big cities over on the eastern side of the United States were actually started as military forts, right? Because at this time you have the French, you've got the English, you've still got people fighting with Native Americans, right? So it's all about building up trade and then defending those trade routes.
Okay.
He's the commander of a fort in St. Ignace, and in 1701, he goes to found Fort Pontchartrain du Detroit, which later becomes the city of Detroit. Antoine de la Mothe, Cadillac, he was apparently warned by a fortune teller that he came across in southern Michigan around the time he was founding the fort that he would come across the Nain Rouge.
Whoa, wait. I'm sorry. Did she say you're going to come across a dwarf?
Yes, we're getting there. So he's at basically a large party. And in this time, the early 1700s, like spiritual mediums or, people who could read palms or give your fortunes, it was kind of like party entertainment you would hire, right?
I mean, we should do that now.
I'm down for it. But anyway, so Antoine Cadillac, he's at this party and he meets a woman who's doing exactly that. She's reading palms. She's given fortunes. So he sits with her and she tells him that he would start a settlement that would become a great city. She also warns him that she would come across an imp and that it would be in his best interest to appease it. She described this creature as being malignant if offended, but if you flatter him, he tends to leave you alone and not bother you much. Doesn't give him a whole lot more than that, but her last words to him were, appease the Nain Rouge, which is where the name comes into play.
An imp is just like a little mischievous devil thing, right?
Yep. So imp, red dwarf, demon of the Strait, like these are all kind of interchangeable names for whatever this thing might really be.
I guess I don't know what I would feel if somebody said that to me either, though.
So what would you do if you came across it?
Okay, so if she told me that this is all going to happen, I would be like, you're crazy, right? Because I mean, that sounds insane. Right. But then if I came across it, I would definitely be appeasing it. I ain't going to mess with it. That's for sure. I mean, I would probably just try to be friends with it. Let's get real.
I mean, imps aren't something you're seeing every day. I don't know about you, but I've never seen one. So if somebody tells me if I meet one to appease it, I'm probably going to listen. Right.
Yeah. I would be shocked, a little frightened, but I would be like, hey, do you want to be my friend?
Well, if we go back to Cadillac here, still in the early 1700s, he comes across the imp who is sitting on a bank of what is now the Detroit River. Stop. Do we think he takes the fortune teller's advice? Absolutely not. No. And legend goes that Cadillac actually attacks the Nain Rouge.
Like, what? Just why?
Oh, hold on. It gets better. So details are a little fuzzy on how this happens. There's a few accounts. One says that Cadillac hit him with his cane as he came across the devilish creature in an attempt to just make him go away.
Do you know if he hit him on the head and the shin? Like what it...
Nope, we just know he kind of chased him off.
I would imagine because it's like little that you like bopped it on the head, which is very insulting if you're little.
Yeah, I mean, that would not appease me, right?
No.
Another source says that the imp actually came at Cadillac with a stick, like as if he was attacking him, right? And again, Cadillac fights him off with his cane.
Well,
the third and most, I think, just interesting one to me is that Cadillac spots the imp from far away and immediately draws his sword and tries to kill it.
Do you feel the most powerful and beautiful with the elements of the earth around you? Do you like one-of-a-kind jewelry? Do you sometimes feel like a woodland fairy? Me too. That's why I created Holly and Hemlock, a magical shop filled with handmade wooden jewelry and metaphysical tools. Come check out our enchanting wooden wares at www.hollyhemlock.com and join us in honoring the magic and beauty of nature with each unique creation. That's www.hollyhemlock.com.
Okay, so we have two theories saying that he attacked it, whether it was with a cane, a sword, and one that says that that it was coming at him. He kind of defended himself, which, I mean, if that's the one, yeah.
So no matter what happened, yeah, he did not flatter the creature as he was warned, and instead made him quite angry. So due to these actions, the Nain Rouge is said to have cursed not only Cadillac, but the area of land that is now the city of Detroit.
Fabulous.
So if we're going to, talk about him cursing Cadillac, let's look at the rest of Cadillac's life. Soon after the attack, a string of bad luck falls on the guy.
I'm sorry. Did you say how old he was?
He's in his late 20s, early 30s at this point, I believe.
Okay.
So just string of bad luck now, right? So he was charged with an abuse of power and reassigned to Louisiana after creating Fort Pontchartrain du Detroit. In Louisiana, not highly respected either, gets in some more trouble where he is recalled to France, where he lost his entire trading monopoly. He lost his entire fortune and even becomes imprisoned for a short time. So the story obviously doesn't end with just Cadillac, so the Red Dwarf is said to actually bring disaster to Detroit through his curse. And that many of the terrible things that have happened to Detroit in its sordid history can be attributed to the curse that was put on the founder of Detroit by the Nain Rouge.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, and there's some weird sightings that we'll get into too, where he was actually seen right before some big disasters happen around the city.
Oh, like you were so like the Mothman.
Right. And we're going to
Gotcha.
get into some more of that too at the end on whether he's the cause or if he is more the warning, right?
Interesting.
So in case you were wondering what he looks like, the Nain Rouge is being described as very red in the face, with glistening red eyes and sharp rotting teeth that are usually grinning, which is already unsettling.
Ew. I hate it.
He's sometimes described as being covered in black fur as well.
Oh, so is his face is just red?
Right, like I don't know if it's like red skin and then like covered in fur. Either
Or
way.
he just, ew.
Yeah, just obviously an evil looking thing.
Not an attractive little man.
Right. So the roots of the Nain Rouge are kind of in Native American folklore as being a spirit of, or the impish offspring of the stone god, which was then described to the French, who gave it the name Nain Rouge. So let's get into a couple of sightings that have happened throughout history. So we know that it was, early mid 1700s that Cadillac comes across him. In the late 1700s, we have another recorded sighting, right? So we're going to go over kind of just the top, not only things that were blamed on him, but where he was also apparently seen.
Okay.
So 1763, at the Battle of Bloody Run, he was scampering along the shore where the battle took place. British troops tried to siege the fort of Detroit, which is at this time held by the French. 58 British soldiers end up losing their life in the battle, and the Detroit River ran red for days with blood.
Ew.
Yeah, not a pretty sight. In 1805, the imp is seen again hanging around in the city. A couple people kind of see him scampering about, right? Just hours before the worst fire in all of Detroit's history came and burnt nearly the entire city to the ground other than the fort.
Wow. I wonder why it didn't burn the fort, though.
I think because, and the reason why it was such a devastating fire, right, is the fort was a stone structure, but everything else was mostly wood structures. So, and it was close together. It was not the cleanest city.
Okay.
Kind of the perfect atmosphere for the city to burn down.
Okay.
All right. So a few years later, the War of 1812 is going on, and General William Hull reported seeing the Nain Rouge when he surrendered Detroit to the British. As he is surrendering, he claims that it sat watching him and grinning the entire time.
No. Ew, I hate that.
Yeah.
It's no.
And but the thing is, like, all these things so far, and even we'll get, the next couple sightings, he's always there, but, they're not seeing him with a torch, or he's not making the guy sign the paper.
But a menacing grin is so scary. That's like one of the scariest things.
And I think that's why he gets a lot of the blame more than the warning, right? And like almost like the Mothman with the glowing red eyes. There's something just evil about the way they look.
Well, Delilah's eyes glow red when you put a flashlight on her in the dark. She ain't evil.
She is evil. Your dog is secretly evil.
No,
all right.
She's a baby.
Depends on your definition. But going on, before you get mad at me for talking shit about your dog.
She's your niece.
She's very cute. All right, 1884, the next sighting. This one is a little bit harder for me to believe, right? Because this is about the only time this has happened. But a woman claims to have been attacked by what a lot of people end up thinking her description fits the Nain Rouge. So she describes the thing that attacked her as a baboon with a horned head, brilliant eyes, and your favorite, a devilish leer on his face.
I'm sorry, the baboon got me.
It could very well have just been an escaped baboon. I wouldn't put past the city of Detroit, but okay. So going on, we all know the Detroit riots in the late 60s. So 12th Street riot turned out they were...
Wait, hold on. That's all we know is that she just claims to be attacked? Like, what was she doing?
That's it. That's literally all I could find out.
Okay. I don't believe it.
All right. So that one is harder to believe, right?
But, yeah.
Then we come to 1967, where, Detroit in the late 60s saw some of the worst riots not only the city has ever seen, but some of the worst in the nation. The riots started at 12th Street. It was called the 12th Street riot for some time, and there are people who claim to have seen him around 12th Street right when the riots were breaking out. Few years later, in 1976, in the middle of February, some utility workers are working on a utility pole, and they see off in the distance what they thought was a child who had climbed another one of the poles. They obviously kind of start to freak out, right? So they're going to go try to get this kid off of the utility pole, and as they are coming up to it, this thing scampers down this pole so fast and just runs off into the distance. Next day, Detroit is hit by one of the worst ice storms in its entire history.
Okay, can you see a little baboon with a red face and little horns or whatever, and sharp-ass teeth just scurrying down a freaking pole? I would crap my pants.
I would run. I would run in 2 seconds.
I don't even know if I would run. I think I would be frozen.
Okay, so, and then there's a couple other sightings, right? Which, like, one of them is in 1996 that 2 drunk nightclub patrons claimed to have heard strange noises coming from a hunched-over man who had just fled a car burglary. And they tried to claim that as they got closer, they realized they were face to face with the Rouge. And once again, it scampered away. This one, though,
I'm sorry. Was it the man? They thought the man?
Yeah. So this guy fled from a car burglary. And then they chased him down, found him hunched over. As they got close, they realized it was the Nain Rouge.
Oh, so it wasn't a man. Okay, I got it.
Kind of, to me, it seems like 2 drunk guys were maybe trying to steal a car and then pass the blame.
Yeah. That one, I don't know if I really believe either. That just seems weird. I don't know. Not that all of it isn't weird. Right.
But then we come to the most recent sighting, which was in 2010 in March, where apparently the Nain Rouge was spotted at the Beethoven Apartments in the Cass Corridor, which is kind of like Cass Corridor's become now a more up-and-coming area of Detroit. I feel like that's where a lot of the younger crowd is starting to live, right?
I wouldn't know.
Well, a 300-person crowd / mob masses and ends up, quote-unquote, running the imp out of town. Now...
This is when, I'm sorry, 2010?
2010. There is some debate over whether this actually happened or if it was orchestrated. Because this is what leads to the March du Nain Rouge, which is kind of a big deal now in Detroit, right? So apparently, due to this mob having such great success in banishing him, the city of Detroit now holds its annual event called the March du Nain Rouge, because they somehow determined that once they ran him out of the town, it would only last for 1 year.
Oh, and then every year we have to run him out?
Right.
And it is in March, yeah.
Right. So now it's an annual march in March in the early spring to banish the Nain Rouge from the city for 1 year. So I guess this is like a revival of an earlier tradition of warding off the creature during the spring equinox. Like, I guess way back when they used to try to run him out too, but it just seems weird that, all of a sudden he's seen in 2010 a mob somehow amasses to run him out, and then they determine it's a year, and now it's an annual party.
I was just going to ask you, how did 300 people just establish? They just pooped into thin air, 300 people that just start running. I mean, I get that phones were around then, but you weren't streaming live on Facebook where you're get down here, there's a creature. How did 300? No, I don't know about that.
I don't know, but hey, every year now we have the March du Nain Rouge. So it's
Okay.
it's a parade that's held every year. So it's held in the Cass Corridor, where a group of people come completely in costume, right? So some people dress up as the Nain Rouge himself. The other people kind of dress up in whatever you want to wear. The trick is you just cannot be able to be recognized.
Oh. So you have to mask yourselves, essentially.
You have to mask yourself. So the parade ends.
Oh, we're going.
With the mob chasing an effigy of the Nain Rouge out of the city to keep him away for another year. So the best part is, though, is that the reason they wear costumes is so that when he does return the next year, he cannot recognize and bring bad luck and curses to those who ran him out of the town.
Ew. Okay, I just looked it up. It's March 26th. So we're going.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but thank you.
Sorry, I got excited.
So people have basically gathered now for the last decade to run the critter out of town with the march. But there's another group, and this is where I was kind of talking about the Mothman earlier, right? How people believe he's not the curse itself, but the warning.
Mm-hmm.
So a counter march has actually grown in popularity over the last few years. So now I get to talk about one of my favorite people of all time.
Mm.
The counter march was started originally by a gentleman known as John E.L. Tenney. For anybody listening who doesn't know who this man is, he is one of the best, ufologists, paranormal researchers, insane storytellers, and just...
he does cryptid zoology stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's...
What is it?
Anything that is just...
Yeah.
Counter normal, right? This man has done some research, and he gives incredible talks. He has really, really great podcasts as well. Realm of the Weird. Every time I listen to episodes, I still get just insane chills. I just think he's just an amazing guy. He lives in Royal Oak, which is really, really close. And he actually ran for mayor of Royal Oak at one point. Did you know that?
No.
But yeah, so my mom is actually, Denise, again, hi, the one who introduced me to him, not literally, but we were up at the Michigan Paracon, and she made me check out his talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So anyway, he is not a fan that the city gathers to drive away the imp. Mm. He has a little bit different theory, right? So he starts to basically stand in the march and hand out pamphlets, just hanging out in people's way, basically the friends of the Nain Rouge, right? And every year, his crowd of people has gotten a little bit larger. Tenney thinks that we should actually be celebrating the fact that we have our own cryptid in Michigan, and who, like the Mothman, may be wrongly blamed as being the reason that things happen. He thinks, though, that it's more of a warning, hey, I'm here to tell you something's coming. Maybe instead of running me away, you should listen.
Okay.
And then Tenney also, he tries to reframe the conversation to give thanks to the indigenous creature, right? And to celebrate its history and the fact that, it's got roots in Native Americans, lore and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just a really interesting way to reframe the conversation about him.
Mm-hmm. But maybe you're going to tell me this, but why does he, what makes him think that he's not bad?
So they feel like he doesn't actually cause the bad things that happen in Detroit. He thinks he is more of the warning of the bad thing coming, right? That's one side of it. The other side,
I get that,
is that Detroit is built on indigenous land, and he was here before us. So we really took the land from him. And now run him out every year. Gentrification at its absolute finest.
I can get down with that, yeah.
So I don't know. He could be here to try to protect us. He could be here to try to warn us. If you want to come check out the march, it is happening next year, March 26, 2023. I want to ask you, Kara. I know you want to go, right? What side are you standing on?
I don't know. This is really hard for me.
Are you going to run him out of town, or are you going to make people celebrate?
What are you going to do?
I'm probably going to stand on Tenney's side. If he's saying that's the right way to go and he's been researching this way longer than me, I'm on that side.
I guess I would have to research a little bit more of why he thinks that. Because to me, if I'm trying to warn you, I'm not going to be giving you a menacing grin and just be watching you. That doesn't give off good vibes. Listen to me, I'm trying to help you vibes. So that's the only reason why I don't. And then also that psychic, I mean, she did say that he was going to cause mischief or something like that if like he wasn't appeased, and he was not appeased. However, then I guess if you just appeased him because it's his land first and things like that, maybe he would just stop doing whatever he's doing. So instead of running him out, you could then just kind of be on Tenny's side and be like, hey, let's just like appease him because he was here first. But I don't necessarily know if he's a good omen or like an omen of like a warning.
So now the fortune teller, though, did also say, not that he would be mean, right? But she said he's most malignant if offended, was the wording.
Right,
So,
that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to appease him.
Right.
So this is
not
what
bop
I'm
him on
go
the head
with.
with your cane.
Correct. What I'm going to go with is I think he is causing all of this stuff because he was not appeased. He was humiliated for being little and bopped on the head. But I don't think that we should chase him out every year. I think that we should just let him live with us.
So why not just appease him, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what we should be doing.
No, I kind of agree with you. So instead of fighting to either keep him in or run him out, like, let's just be nice to the dude, and
Exactly.
maybe things will turn around.
That's
for
what
Detroit.
I'm saying. He was here first. Let's be nice.
And Detroit needs some good luck, damn it. Let's be honest.
Word. Yeah, so that's where I'm going. So I don't want to run him out though. But I kind of want to dress up just because it's an excuse to dress up.
I know you would.
Well, I'll just dress up like him because then I'm just like, hey, I like idolize you.
What if he gets more mad at that though because you're impersonating him? Then he curses
you
your ass
think?
anyway. I don't know. I'm not the Nain Rouge.
Well, are you going to dress up?
We'll see. Maybe I'll be the tester of it, right? I won't dress up, and if he comes back and starts looking for us and I start having bad luck, maybe we'll know where he stands.
We've already had a lot of bad luck lately. I don't know if we want to test that theory.
Fair. Well, either way, I think March
Just
26th, I will be there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with you. Duh.
Fair. Well, that is the story of Michigan and Detroit's own little cryptid creature. A little bit of history for everyone on this Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I love it because I didn't know all that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I've heard of the march and everything, and I've actually never gone, but I didn't know where the story came from.
Right. So good one. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you little oddballs, creep it real.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.